Hello everyone, my name is Anup Poddar. So today we are going to discuss about unit number 5, memory system. Now let us go through the contents that we are going to discuss in this video. We are going to discuss about cache memories and mapping functions. We'll go to what is cache memory. Now the speed of the main memory is very low in comparison with the speed of the modern processors. So as you know, the main memory is slow when compared to the modern processors we are using. So there is a need to introduce the scheme that reduces the time needed to access the necessary information. So as you know, the communication always takes place between the memory and the processor. So whenever a processor sends a request to the memory, then the main memory is very large, so it takes lot of amount of time to search whether the data is present in the memory or not. So there should be a scheme which will reduce the time for the communication between processor and the memory. So an efficient solution is to use a faster cache memory. Now the effectiveness of a cache mechanism is based on a property of computer programs called as locality of reference. Now many instructions in localized area of the program are executed repeatedly during some time period, and the remainder of the program is accessed relatively infrequently. So when you write a program, some of the statements will be executed which is stored in the memory will always be executed, and some instructions what you write which will be accessed infrequently, means it will not be accessed more frequently. Now this is referred to as locality of reference, that is it comes in two ways called as temporal and spatial. Temporal means that a recently executed instruction is likely to be executed again very soon. So if you write some add instruction, if you are going to execute that instruction many number of times, so that instruction comes under temporal. Spatial means instruction in close proximity to a recently executed instruction and also likely to be executed soon. So these instructions will be executed most probably soon. Now as you can see in the diagram, there is a cache memory in between processor as well as the main memory to communicate between the processor as well as main memory. Now suppose when the processor is received a read request, processor sends a read request to the main memory, that is processor wants to read some data from the memory for processing the instructions. So when main memory receives a read request, the contents of a block of memory words containing the location are transferred into the cache one at a time. So whenever the processor receives a request for a read operation, so whatever the blocks, whatever the data that are present in the main memory will be stored, as well as the location will be transferred into a cache. That is, whatever the request for that data is made from the main memory, that data will be or block will be stored in cache. Now when a program references any of the locations in this block, now suppose that data is whatever the read request is there, it is stored in the cache memory. Now the desired contents are read directly from the cache, that is you did not directly go to the main memory to search for whether that instruction or data is present. It will be temporarily stored in the cache memory itself. So the correspondence between the main memory and blocks and those in the cache is specified by a mapping function. So the main memory, how it loads the data into the cache, or this is done using a mapping function. That is, mapping function means to find whether the block that was present in the main memory, whether it is loaded into the cache memory. So how to find it? It will be done using a mapping function. Now whenever a cache is full, now whatever the main memory blocks are there, all are fed into the cache. But if the cache becomes full, then and a memory word is not in the cache is referenced. So if you are searching for a word that is not present in the cache, so at that time the cache controller admin must decide which block should be removed. Now if there are 100 blocks in the cache and 100 first block the main memory want to store into the cache, but the cache is full, so the cache will be deciding which block it should remove so that it can allow block number 101 to store into it. So it will decide which block should be removed to create a space for new block that contains the reference word. So each block will contain the reference word. So cache will decide which block to remove and which block to store. Now the collection of rules for making this decision constitutes a replacement algorithm. So the decision of which block to be removed is done by the cache using the replacement algorithm. Now I'll go to mapping functions. As I told in the previous slide, mapping functions are used to decide whether in which block the word should be loaded into the cache. That is the communication between cache and memory. That is, using these functions the main memory will decide into which block into which location the data should be stored into the cache. Now the simplest way to determine the cache location in which to store memory blocks is the direct mapping technique. Now if you want to store some memory location that contains some word into the cache, the simplest way is using a direct mapping technique. Now what this technique here is, here block J of the main memory maps into block J modulo 128 of the cache, which is shown in the below figure. So as you can see in the figure, there are 4096 blocks starting from 0 to 40995 in the main memory. Now if I want to store these memory locations into the cache, now this cache contains total 128 blocks. Okay, now I want to store these blocks into all the blocks into the cache. So this can be done by using the formula. That is, the technique here is block J of the main memory maps into block J modulo 128. Means block number J will be stored into the block number of the cache whose number is block J modulo 20. So let us see an example. Now suppose whenever one of the memory blocks 0, 128, 256 is loaded into the cache. Now suppose once the main memory wants to load block number 0, block number 128 and block number 256 into the cache. So it will be stored in the cache block 0. That is how it is here is. Now in the formula you have seen, block J should be mapped to block J modulo 128. Means block number 0 that is present in the main memory should be present in block 0 modulo 128. 0 modulo 128 is 0. So block 0 location in main memory should be stored in cache block number 0. Similarly, block number 128 that is present in the main memory, this should be stored in block 128 modulo 128 of the cache, means block 0 of the cache. So whatever the blocks 0, 128 and 256 will be loaded into block number 0. Similarly, now when you go for block number 1, now where block number 1 should be stored. So by using the mapping function, that is block 1 should be stored from the main memory to the cache block 1 mod 20. What is block 1 mod 28 is block 1. So block 1 should be stored in block 1 of cache 1. Similarly for 129, 256 and so on. Now the cache control circuitry determines whether a requested work currently exists in the cache. Now whenever there is a read request, those cache control, there is a control circuit which will determine whether the requested word exists in the cache. Now if it is there, the read or write operation will be performed in the appropriate location. Now in this case, a read or write hit occurs, means the location is present So it is called as a read or write hit. So in read operation, the main memory will be not be involved. Why? Because we are only reading the contents. So already the contents will be present in the cache rather than going to the main memory. So in read operation, main memory will not be involved. Now for a write operation, so when you are writing, wants to write the data into the main memory, so the system can proceed in two ways. So there are two ways to write the into the location. So in the first technique, the cache location and the main memory location are updated simultaneously, which is called as a write through protocol. Which means, suppose I want to write the data into that location, that is block number 0. So the contents in the block number 0 in the main memory as well as contents in the block number 0 on in the cache, both should be updated. So it's called as write through protocol. So the second technique is to update only the cache location and mark it as updated with an associated flag bit. So it's called as a dirty or modified bit. So instead of modifying both main memory and cache memory, we can only update only the cache location. So how we come to know it is updated is we can mark it with an associated flag bit. Now the main memory location of the word is updated later. So once we get give a associated flag bit to the location, now that location will be that cache location again, it should be updated to the main memory also. So it will be updated later. So that will be done only when the word is removed from the cache, so that new block comes there. So this technique is known as write back or copy back. Means we are writing the data into the main memory by marking the word that it has been updated, and it should be updated into the main memory only when it will be removed. Now when the address word in the read operation is not in the cache. Now suppose if you want to read the data from the location but that block is not present in the cache, so this is called a read miss will occur. So this word may be sent to the processor as soon as it is read from the memory. So if it is present, it will be sent as soon from the main memory. It is called load through or early restart, which reduces the processor's waiting period. Now during a write operation, so you want to write some data into that block. So if the address word is not in the cache, a write miss occurs, same as that of read operation. Then if the write through protocol is used, this information is written directly into the memory. So as we have discussed in the previous slide, what is write through protocol? So the information will be directly written into the main memory. Now in case of write back protocol, the block containing the address word is first brought into the cache. So while writing back the protocol, first whatever the block which contains the address word will be first brought into the cache before going to the main memory. Then the desired word in the cache will be overwritten with the new information. Now next type of mapping is associative mapping. Now this diagram shows how the associative mapping works. Now in this case you can see there are 12 tag bits used to identify a memory block when it resides in the cache. So these tag bits identify the memory block, that is which block it belongs to the main memory. So tag is used can be used as an identification to which block it belongs in the main memory. Now the tag bits of an address received from the processor, so whatever the address is that will be received from the processor containing a tag bit, it will be compared to the tag bit of each block of the cache. Now if suppose the processor wants to write some word into that location or into that address, so the tag bit of an address will be sent by the processor to the cache. Now cache will determine whether the tag bits of that block are present in it. That is, it will compare tag bits of each block of the cache to see if the desired block is present. So if the desired block is compared with all the blocks. So if the desired tag is present, then it is called as a associative mapping technique. Now the cost of an associative cache is higher than the cost of directly matched cache. Why? Because whenever a location or block comes, it should compare the tags, the desired tag, with all the 128 tag patterns. So each block will be given some tag pattern. So if it must search all the 128 tag patterns to determine whether it is present in the cache. A search of this kind is called as a associative search. Now the next step that we are going to see is set associative mapping. Now the diagram shows about the set associative mapping. Now it is a combination of both direct as well as associative mapping technique. Now here what we do is blocks of the cache are grouped into sets, and the mapping allows a block of main memory to reside in any block of a specific set. So we'll go through an example. As shown, we can see here there is a cache. It is a combination of both direct mapping as well as associative mapping. So each block will be given a tag. So as you can see here, two blocks are made as a one set. So one set contains two blocks. Now in this case you can see memory blocks 0, 64, 128. Now block number 0 should go to, in associative mapping if we use, it should go to block 0 mod 128, means it should go to block 0. That is using direct mapping. And now we have to use now this block will be again given a tag, and they can occupy either of the two block position. So it is not that they should occupy only block number 0. They can occupy either block 0 or block 1. So they will be going to set number 0, not block number 0. Okay. Now one more control bit called as a valid bit must be provided for each block. So each block will be provided a valid bit. So what it is, it will indicate whether the block contains valid data. Now in this video we have studied about cache memories, different mapping functions. Thank you.